The Enneagram is a test that explains 9 different types of distinct personality traits. Each person tends to have a dominating personality trait. Let's say, for example, a 5. They will also have a wing, or a secondary dominating personality, that is the number either directly above or below the dominating personality number. So in the case of a 5, they'll have a wing of either a 4 or a 6. In this explanation, I'll be briefly explaining each trait of the Enneagram, giving both strengths, which represents different characteristics seen when a person is in a healthy state and not stressed, and areas of growth, which represents different characteristics seen when a person is stretched too thin, extremely stressed, or in an unhealthy season. Enneagram Type 1, the Perfectionist or Reformer, describes a person who tends to be very organized and put together. They tend to be very rational, self-controlled, and routine-oriented. They are, as their name suggests, perfectionists, and are constantly striving to improve. At their worst, they are very critical of themselves and others, and they tend to not like change. Enneagram Type 2, the Helper, describes a person who often goes out of their way to serve others and are very giving of their time and energy. They are very compassionate towards others and are often good communicators. At their worst, they can be demanding and feel entitled to receive love back from the people they have extended love and time to. Enneagram Type 3, the Achiever, describes a person who tends to be confident and practical. They are people who make checklists and get things done efficiently and effectively. They are often extroverted and very energetic. At their worst, they tend to fear failure and feel as though they have never accomplished enough. Enneagram Type 4, the Individualist or Romantic, describes a person who is often very creative and artistic. They seek emotional depth in conversation and are self-aware of their own emotions as well. They are very trusted friends and have an idealistic viewpoint in different situations. At worst, they can have frequent emotional breakdowns or withdraw because they are overwhelmed. Enneagram Type 5, the Investigator or Observer, describes a person who is scholarly, enjoys problem solving, and is always seeking to obtain more information or knowledge. They are often researchers or philosophers, always investigating and processing things. At worst, they can become withdrawn and consumed in research, feeling they can never research enough. Enneagram Type 6, the Loyalist, describes a person who tends to be very reliable and committed to relationships. They work hard at what they do and are constantly checking in on friends. Relationships and people are very important to them, and they make sure people know that. At worst, they can become insecure and suspicious of others if people break their sense of trust. Enneagram Type 7, the Enthusiast, describes a person who is the life of the party. They are always seeking adventure, spontaneity, and life's next best thing. They are very cheerful, lively, and joyous. At worst, they can be self-centered, materialistic, and insensitive. Enneagram Type 8, the Challenger, describes a person who tends to be very strong-willed, determined, and self-confident. They often possess an attitude that they can and will do anything in order to beat the odds. At worst, they can be aggressive, egocentric, and will-imposing. Enneagram Type 9, the Peacemaker, describes a person who is generally reassuring and agreeable. They are very easygoing, optimistic, and a good listener. They often are accepting and trusting of others. At their worst, they tend to avoid conflict at all costs, even at the expense of their own opinions and needs, in attempts to minimize confrontation. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, your Enneagram personality type is characterized by 2 numbers. The first being your basic or dominating personality type, and the second being the wing. A wing is a personality trait that lies on either side of the dominating personality trait number. Since every person has a unique mix of personalities, everyone's basic personality trait has a complementing personality trait that's defined as the wing. Using the example we used earlier, if a person is a 5, they'll either have a wing of a 4 or a wing 6. If the 5, who is always investigating and seeking out new information and problem solving, is also very committed to relationships and loves checking in on people, which is the trait of a 6, the Loyalist, they would say they have a personality of a 5 wing 6. The person who is a 5 wing 6 can display other personality traits that extend past the 5 and the 6. However, the Enneagram tends to only highlight which traits tend to dominate the personality of that person, meaning that the personality traits seen the most in a particular person will be the dominating personality trait and its complementing trait of the wing. To determine which Enneagram type most describes you, I have found that the best free Enneagram test is found at trudy.com. In addition, Enneagram Institute offers a very thorough analysis of each Enneagram type, as well as more information on various tendencies that each type has and ways that each type is compatible with the others. I hope this gives you a better understanding of each type of personality of the Enneagram test.